Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mr. Beard. In this video, I want to take a look at Pteranodon because as we know, the Isle community, Pteranodon is in a very weird place right now. I tried to play it for a bit, but oh my god, the stamina system is absolutely horrible for Pteranodon. And I think it deserves some attention from the developers to improve its mechanics and make it more relaxing to play, more chill to play, because at the end of the day, Pteranodon is not a strong dinosaur. It's not something you would grow for hours. It's just something that players choose to relax, to fly around, basically not care, to explore, to have fun. That's why people play Pteranodon. I don't think it requires to be so hard to play, in my opinion. And if you agree with this, like the video. Well, I've come up with a system for Pteranodon which I think is going to be quite interesting to apply. I want you guys to go down in the comments after you've watched the video and tell me if you like this suggestion or if you change it in some way, shape or form. Well, a lot of people spoke that in the Isle it would be cool to have a heating system. You know, your dinosaur getting warmer or colder depending where it is. Like sit in the shade if you're warm, or go for a bath in the rivers or lakes if you're warm. Things like that. A lot of people discussed about it. I think the developers discussed about it. It's an interesting mechanic. Well, what I am about to suggest for Pteranodon is to add a heating system to the dinosaur. As we know, in real life, birds basically use different mechanisms to cool down their bodies. From what I know, birds do not have sweating glands, so birds do not sweat. One, a lot of birds just pant, just like dogs do, to cool themselves off. Some birds fly very high in the sky and actually spread their wings to increase surface area, which helps them cool down their bodies. Well, in reality, you could say, well, Pteranodon does that when it's gliding. Why is that a thing? Well, in this case, Pteranodon couldn't really cool down its body while spreading its wings because feathers play a significant role in a bird's ability to regulate its body temperature. And as we know, the Pteranodon in game does not have feathers. So the Pteranodon, while it's spreading its wings, could not regulate its body temperature as effective as birds nowadays do. Okay, so how would this heating system work for Pteranodon? Well, first of all, we make the playable, aka the Pteranodon, gain stamina while it's gliding. No more keeping it at the same level. This will actually help the Pteranodon fly for longer periods of time. But hey, Mr. Beard, everybody can agree that just being able to fly non-stop without going down is kind of not so realistic, and it will make the Pteranodon feel weird because birds don't fly forever. They have to sit down and relax. Don't worry, I'll get to that. This heating mechanic will be applied to the Pteranodon. It will have 4 stages, and as the stages go up, the Pteranodon will feel worse and worse, aka is heating up as it's flying. Because it doesn't have sweating glands and because it cannot regulate its body temperature by spreading its wings, it kinda needs to come down back to ground and relax. Probably the developers could give it an ability that when it presses H to sit down, it actually opens its mouth when it's overheating to kinda pant, just like dogs do, just like birds in real life do. Let's say you're a Pteranodon. You start off by being on the ground. This is the stage 0. Basically no effect at all. You don't even see the icon in the bottom right corner, just like the oxygen does for dinosaur in the game. You know, when you don't need to see it, it's not on the screen. It appears there just as you go in the water. Well, these stages will appear as soon as the Pteranodon will start flying. So it basically will look like this on the screen. So the first line is the first stage. When you're on the ground is the 0 stage. Basically the effect doesn't exist. As you take off, first stage is activated. This stage is basically a normal stage. The Pteranodon can fly normally. It will gain stamina as it's gliding, not when it's gaining altitude and not when it's flying faster. So you don't have to touch anything if you want your stamina to basically regenerate. This stage will last approximately 6 minutes to the max. And this is what I suggest, that every time the player starts accelerating in the air or trying to gain altitude, that means the dinosaur is actually doing effort to move its wings to accelerate or to gain altitude. This energy, as it's moving its wings, it's actually gonna speed up the process of its body heating up. So this 6-minute timer, when I say max, I say 6 minutes if it's only gliding. If it's actually accelerating or gaining altitude, this timer will go down way faster. Think of this as the bleed. If you're bleeding in the aisle and you run, you're gonna bleed faster. If you sit still, you're gonna bleed slower. It's the same thing here. If you glide, the timer will go down slower. If you're gonna accelerate or gain altitude by flapping your wings, it's gonna go down way faster. So 6 minutes max. Second stage will become active when these 6 minutes go down to 0. What is second stage? Well, second stage is basically your dinosaur is starting to heat up. This will affect its concentration. So now you're starting to see some effects of sitting in the air so much, doing so much effort as a Pteranodon in the air. Smell range will be reduced because again, the heat affects concentration. If you ever sat in the sun so much, you are gonna start feeling dizzy. You're gonna not concentrate as much. You're gonna just not be you won't be your normal self, let's be honest, because the heat is affecting you. That's how the heat will affect the Pteranodon in second stage. It will affect its concentration. Smell range will be reduced, so it won't be able to smell for so longer distances anymore, which will kind of prompt some players to go back to the ground and cool down before taking off again to smell. And the second stage, I suggest, has another interesting consequence. Your dinosaur Pteranodon will no longer be able to differentiate north from south. You know those lines when you smell that point up and down? Well, when you're heating up as a Pteranodon, second stage, you will no longer be able to see where north is and where south is, because again, the heat affects concentration, which will kind of prompt you again to go down on the ground, cool down, and go back up in the sky. Because let's be honest, flying in the aisle is kind of a major thing for anything, really. Like, imagine you were able to fly. Well, that comes at very big costs. Like, you can see everything, you can smell, you can navigate easier, and those things need to be affected if you're gonna heat up very much in the sky. And that's why I suggest second stage will bring smell ranges reduced and no longer to see where north and south is. This stage will last a maximum of 4 minutes at maximum, again with the maximum thing. If you flap your wings, if you try to accelerate, it will go down way faster. Of course, the developers in the end can affect these timers and see what works, what doesn't, for balancing reasons. Well, when these 4 minutes are done, the final stage, which is the third stage, will apply to the Pteranodon. This is when your dinosaur has had too much heat, it's overheating, it's been in the air too much under the sun or in warm temperatures, and this is what's going to happen. Your dinosaur is overheating. It may vomit at any time. You have ever seen somebody sit in the sun for probably hours, right? In the sun, no drinking water, no nothing. If you remember, like, I've seen people do that and I've experienced it myself. If I sit in the sun so much, I will literally vomit because your body is so much overheating that it causes you to vomit. So this is realistic, right? Your dinosaur is overheating, it may vomit at any time. And as we know, when you vomit, your water and food will go down instantly and it will have a cap to them, so you'll have to go and lick salt. Smell range is reduced even further at the third stage, so basically I don't think you'll be able to smell anything anymore because again, you're overheating, your senses are just affected by the heat, your little Pteranodon brain can't take it anymore, and you're still not able to differentiate north from south. This system would make Pteranodon interesting to play. I mean, for the first minute, 6 minutes in the air, let's say 4 minutes because you're flapping your wings, 4 minutes to be in the air not worrying about stamina and such is quite good. And the second stage, which is 4 minutes, and let's say 2-3 minutes because you're flapping your wings, so 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes in reality being in the air, your stamina regenerates, you can literally chill there. And when the third stage comes, or you go down on the ground, start cooling down. Again, if you're third stage or second stage, your Pteranodon could simply do the animation of opening its mouth and panting. The developers could add this in. If stage 2 is active or if stage 3 is active, when you press H, your dinosaur is gonna pant. If you don't have any stages, your mouth will close, which will let you know that your dinosaur has reached back to stage 0, which lets you know, hey, I can go back in the air again. Well, what happens if you don't rest when you come down to the ground? Well, you're still gonna cool off, but how do I know when the stages is back to 0? Well, the icon on the bottom right will still be there, just like oxygen is when you are in the water. The oxygen fills up, it disappears. That's gonna be the same thing here. If your stage goes back to 0, aka your dinosaur cooled down enough to fly again, that thing will disappear and it will only appear when you fly again into the sky. What do you think of this, my friends? Do you like this idea for the Pteranodon? I mean, the developer spoke about heating system and all. I don't think it's a good thing for the Isle, but seeing it apply to at least one dinosaur, sure, the Pteranodon, would be an interesting thing to see how heating would work in the Isle, and maybe if we like the system, we could apply it to other dinosaurs in some kind of manner. The Pteranodon could actually become the dinosaur the developers test the heating system on, just so they can maybe see if it works. If it doesn't, they could probably just leave it for Pteranodon, but if people like it and people give ideas and feedback on it, they could apply it to other dinosaurs and, you know, of course, increase the timers and all. It will affect each dinosaur differently. But I think Pteranodon, this idea I came up with, is quite interesting to experience, don't you guys think? Of course, during the day these timers could be, I don't know, shorter, during the night could be higher. I don't know. This is things that the developers need to discuss, the timers and all. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it very much. Like the video if you like this, dislike it if you didn't. Leave a comment with anything that is on your mind, feedback to this idea or anything really. Do you like the Pteranodon in its current stage? What would you change about it? What mechanics would you come up with? Let me know down in the comments. Have a beautiful day, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.